Rise and Shine Rwanda, it's Tuesday the 26th of May.
Coming up on today's Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Do you want to know why private companies are going public? We found out.
Is she making her comeback? Arnold sits down with the former #1 in Rwanda.
And a profile of a promising young photographer with a passion for people of Rwanda.
Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Makeda Mahario. Over the next hour, we'll be bringing you all the latest news, sports, and business headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And of course, the Rise and Shine team with us are all together once again and here in studio. We missed you yesterday, Arnold, by the way. You know what?
He wants to be missed. I think he does it on purpose, like miss a day, so that everybody goes crazy, but
Tell us,
he's here.
What do you have for us in the world of sports?
In sport, Monaco Grand Prix results. Speaking of France, the French Open, tennis, and speaking of tennis, a star is back in Rwanda, a tennis star.
Well, there's a lot of things happening there. I like
Right.
it. You know, when you go away, you come back with a full bag.
There's a bunch of things. Okay.
All right, Fidelis, what do you have for us in the world of business?
Well, you guys you have a lot of people buying shares going on in the show today. So I have a bit of that going on in business today as well. So I'll give you an update on which company is selling part of its shares. And also, you know, the struggles that the mining sector is still going through. It's really sad, but, you know, they'll get through it.
All right, okay.
Well, all that and more still to come, but first, Rise and Shine story of the day. It is a term we hear more and more in Rwanda. IPO, short for Initial Public Offering, is a process through which shares of stock in a company are sold to investors who in turn sell to the public for the first time. Hence, the I for initial. Last week, Crystal Ventures, which has been a shareholder in MTN Rwanda Cell Limited, launched its very own IPO at 100 Rwandan francs a share. Take a look.
We are certain that our listing into the exchange will result into several things, but among them, we expect increased efficiencies in the economy in terms of better allocation of resources, efficient process of capital raising, improvement in governance, transparency and accountability, productive utilization of savings in the economy, development of the private sector, and the growth of the companies.
With their latest move, Crystal Telecom will be listed at the Rwanda Stock Exchange come mid-July. These days, the value of the companies on the Rwanda Stock Exchange stands at more than $4 billion, which exceeds about 50% of Rwanda's gross domestic product.
As you know, now there are three companies that are listed: Bralirwa, Bank of Kigali, and Crystal Telecom. Bralirwa and Bank of Kigali were government former shares that were listed on the exchange, but Crystal Telecom is the only private sector company that comes onto the market as 100% owned by the private sector.
The financial sector ecosystem in Rwanda is maturing in terms of its capability to mobilize long-term capital for the economy. It means that a company looking for capital can come to the market, and also investors who feel that their investments have matured and they want to take value out of the company or exit the company, there is a capital market window through which they can be able to do this. And more important, of course, is the fact that now the market is capable of attracting the general public and domestic savers to an opportunity to participate in the success of Rwandan enterprises.
Both Rwandans and non-Rwandans now have another alternative to investor savings. The two other local firms on the stock market, Bralirwa and Bank of Kigali, did their IPOs in 2010 and 2011 respectively.
The 20% of the company of MTN Rwanda is now going to be owned by different shareholders through an IPO. But that one also again is going to, it's a company created specifically for that. Basically, it's a pass-through. The total value of the IPO is around $40 million if you put it in dollars, which is about 28 billion Rwanda francs.
The IPO's aim here is to significantly increase liquidity through the turnovers and market capitalization.
We definitely, without doubt, believe other companies are going to follow suit because they'll be able to monitor and notice that it's just enhanced accountability, but you keep managing your business the same way.
In a new market, what matters is the state of preparedness of the business, because a private company and a public company are completely two different animals. When a company decides to go to the public to raise capital, the company should also be ready to disclose what business they are doing, and that's the only way investors can be able to analyze the risks that they are putting their money into.
It's a purely private sector initiative, and that's what we wish to happen in our market, because we want more of private entities to come into the market, and we've been sensitizing them. We've been fighting for this to happen, basically.
There's definitely more to come. Regis Isheja, Rise and Shine Rwanda. And joining us in studio now is Vincent Gatete, CEO of Crystal Telecom, and Lawson Naibo, COO at Bank of Kigali. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, so the first question will be, when we're talking about IPOs, let's talk like we don't know what we're talking about here, to the general public that's watching us, that wants to know exactly what it's about and how they can actually gain from it. What is it exactly and how do they benefit from it?
Thank you very much. I think an IPO is where a company is listing its shares in the stock exchange. We call that one the primary market. Now, for the new buyers of the shares, they will be able to buy the shares at the listing price without paying any commission. At the end of the close of the listing, they will be allocated the shares, and then after they have been uploaded in the central depository securities depository, then we have what we call the ringing of the bell. It is from the ringing of the bell that the shares will start trading in what we call the secondary market.
So what would motivate a company to want to sell shares?
I think, as in the case of Crystal Telco, there are various motivators for listing your shares in the stock exchange. One is to raise the capital, because you find that getting money from the bank to invest in your business sometimes can be a bit expensive, and also it is a way in which one is able to share the successes of the company with other shareholders. Like, for example, we are talking about the success of MTN now is going to be shared among the various shareholders. So those are some of the motivators that many people listing their shares in the stock exchange look for.
Now, the number 105, when we're saying 105 per share, where does that number come from? Because I'm clearly not in the know, so I want to understand how the whole thing works.
I think when you look at the initial stages of the preparation for listing, we have the transaction advisor who comes in and looks at the company, collates all the information and does a valuation of the business. After the valuation of the business is when they go back and say, this is the number of shares that you want to list, and this is the value of the business, and therefore you arrive at the value of the shares that will be listed. For example, if we look at Crystal Telco, we've got the value of about 40 million for the 20% of MTN. Now, once you arrive at the $40 million, valuation, you then divide by the number of shares that you want to list in the stock exchange. So one would say that the valuation is done by the transaction advisor. The decision about the number of shares is determined by the shareholder.
Now, for example, and this may be a silly question, let me know, but does the company have any control over who buys? So for instance, what if one man decides, I have that 40 million, I just want to have a say in that company, and he decides he wants to buy all of them? Is that possible? Is there a maximum or a minimum?
And has that happened before?
It's actually not possible, in a sense that the reason it's called IPO, it means that you've actually opened doors for whoever wants to invest in the company to be able to invest. And maybe Lawson will talk about this, but there are even certain allotments within the structure which says 25% of these shares will go to retail investors, then 75% will go to institutional investors. Then still within the institutional investors, depending on who is buying what percentage. So, but to answer your question, basically once you go IPO, it is impossible that one individual investor would buy the entire stock.
Now, Vincent, we've seen the 5th of June, it's been out there, everybody knows that by 5 p.m., that's when the whole thing, the IPO ends. But what does it mean to the average Rwandan? I mean, when they hear that, does that mean that they have to end basically submitting? Or how does it work? How does it work?
Sorry.
Go ahead, that's fine.
Yes, still Lawson will talk about this, but what that basically means is that on the 21st of this month of May, there's an official launch. So people have until 5th June to do applications for shares. Then after that, it's basically closed, but then our advisors, including BK, will be working backdoor to make sure that if you've subscribed for shares, then you have a certain percentage or you get the entire amount, but on that process, Lawson can probably add on.
Yeah, as David said, what will happen is that from the 21st, we've started receiving applicants. At the moment, the performance is quite good. I think as of yesterday, we were looking at about 15%. Now, within this period that the offer is open until 5th, you can go into any of the listed selling agents. We've got 10 brokers, and we've got KCB, Bank of Kigali, and also INM. You walk in, you after reading the prospectus, then you can fill in the form, the application form for the number of shares that you need to buy. The minimum number of shares that you need to buy, you can buy is 1,000. 1,000 times now they are 105 per share, gives you 105,000 francs.
And what is a minimum purchase? Okay, what is the minimum you can purchase?
1,000 shares.
Okay, all right.
And then you need to buy multiples of 1,000. Now there is no maximum that you can say you apply for. But what will determine the amount of shares that will be allocated will be the total number of shares applied for. If, let's say, for example, we are listing 270 billion shares, and we find that over 540 million shares have been applied for, then it means that each applicant we will have to cut each applicant's share request by half. So we will prorate the allotment after we get the total number of shares that have been applied for.
So once I've bought my shares, I have them. Say I decide one day I don't want them anymore and I want to sell them. Is that possible, and how?
And through which channels do you go through to do that?
I think the after the offer closes on 5th of June, we will notify the number of shares that you have been allotted on 17th of June. After that, we will then upload the shares that you have been allotted through the Central Securities Depository, because we no longer deal with the shares in Rwanda. And then we expect that by 17th of July,
Okay.
we will start, we will ring the bell and start trading the shares. That is the time that you can now say that I no longer want to hold the shares, and you can trade them, sell them to anybody who didn't buy or who wants to increase the amount of shares that they have.
Right, right. Okay, well, thank you so
I've
much.
always wanted to
I'm being
ring the
told
bell.
to-
I feel like I'm in school, like I'm learning a lot. I like
You've always wanted to ring the bell. Listen,
Yes, I have.
well, thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Lawson and
joining
Vincent.
us.
Thank you very much.
And you don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for business, or as I call it, the money. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. Street vendors in Kigali will soon acquire a free market thanks to an initiative by the city of Kigali to create one that will serve all the 3 districts of Kigali. The initiative, which is worth 700 million Rwandan francs, is aimed at creating order in the city as well as promoting the culture of conducting business in an organized manner. Officials said it is expected to start next month and will help reduce unemployment among women and youth by supporting them to create sustainable jobs that are in line with the National Employment Program. A rise in statutory fees and falling global mineral prices threaten to reduce the profits of mining companies in Rwanda. Through 2 ministerial orders, mining firms now have to pay new license fees as a compulsory contribution to the Environmental Guarantee Fund, and an additional cost that miners say has come at a bad time when the prices of most minerals found in the country have dipped, affecting the industry negatively. Officials from the Rwanda Miners Association say they intend to protest against these charges and formally start negotiations with the government to revise the fees downwards to attract more investments in the country. And one of Rwanda's leading beverage industries, Inyange, is set for acquisition next month by Kenya dairy farm Brookside. According to Inyange Industries Management, 51% of its stake is what is set to be sold to Brookside Dairy in a move that should help the farm to run more efficiently. The Brookside technical team is already on the ground carrying out the evaluation process of the company before the final decision is taken. You're up to date today's business headlines. Sports news coming up next in just a minute to Arnold Kwizera.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. Arnold Kwizera. Starting with Formula One, Nico Rosberg took full advantage of one of the Formula One's greatest tactical errors on Sunday to land an unexpected victory and become only the 4th man to claim a hat-trick of consecutive wins in the Monaco Grand Prix. The 29-year-old German, who was winning his 2nd successive race this season, came home in his Mercedes ahead of compatriot Sebastian Vettel in a Ferrari, with long-time leader and Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton in 3rd. Rosberg, who reduced the gap between himself and Hamilton in the World Championship standings to 10 points after 6 races, trailed his teammate for 63 laps until an accident prompted a safety car intervention that in turn led to the team to call the Briton in for an unexpected and unnecessary pit stop. Hamilton, who led by 21 seconds before he pitted, came out in 3rd place after the race was restarted with 8 laps remaining, finding it impossible to pass Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari, let alone Rosberg finishing in 3rd. On to tennis. Swiss duo of Roger Federer and Stanislas Wawrinka were possibly not happy with French Open authorities on day 1 of the clay tournament, despite progressing to the next round. Federer asked for the security to be tightened as a young fan ran onto the court after his straight sets victory over Colombian Alejandro Falla, winning 6-3, 6-4, 6-3. Countrymate Warinka was also furious with his match preview on the Slams official site, although he won 6-3, 6-2, 6-3 against Turkey's Marcel Ihan. Linz Karenzi was part of what many called Rwanda's greatest tennis generation to date. I recently caught up with its tennis star to find out what she thinks of the current setup in the sport. Take a look. Liz Karenzi was once ranked as high as number 9 on the Africa tennis circuit, but over the years, a mixture of school, work and frustrations led to this talent player to put an end to her professional career. I sat down with her to get more insight into her tennis life.
My dad is a big sports fan and he's a tennis player all around. So he got me in the game at the age of 4 and I didn't like it at first because the racket was too heavy for me at some point. But I would say I started seriously at the age of 8. And by the time I was 10 was my first tournament and I won it. And I think that's when we moved back to Rwanda and I joined the national team of Rwanda by the age of 11.
Many in the local community assume that tennis is a sport for a certain class of people, but this former child star seems to differ in thinking.
You would think most people who play tennis, especially young girls, would be girls of a certain class, but it's actually opposite in Rwanda. If you look at what the sport has produced as tennis players, from Eric Haginimana to Paul Gasigwa to all of them, if you go to Cercle, if you even here at Kanombe, most people who play tennis at the young age, especially girls, are underprivileged kids who have been given a chance to come here and play. You rarely see kids from, let's say, a higher class taking the sport seriously.
Despite some of the hardships administration wrangles, this former NCAA Division I player thinks the sport has a great future in the country, but some changes have to be made.
There's definitely a future for the sport because right now there's a kid called Matthew and he's ranked 5th in the whole continent. But the problem is that we don't know how to nurture such talent. Like me at my age, as soon as I turned 12, it was my dad who pushed my talent. He's the one who found coaches and did this, but this is the job for the federation to do, you know, not the parents. Ultimately, we need a center. We need a tennis center, a tennis academy, and it doesn't require much. It's a couple of courts just meant for kids to go and play, provide coaches. The administration already provides rackets and balls, as for now. So it's just a tennis center with 100% attention to the players. Tennis is not a popular discipline in Rwanda, but we have produced one of the best tennis players in East Africa or Southern Africa that we have seen. I can give you the likes of Jean-Paul Shimana, Eric Hagenimana, Kazungu. All of them, myself included, when we were in the same team, we all got a scholarship, full ride to the States. And they all went on, and some of them played pro at some point in the States. Some of them are now renowned coaches. Everybody knows them. It's really, if it's not that popular, and we still can manage to produce one of the best. Eric was ranked 2nd in Africa. So if we can produce such players with such little resources, can you imagine what could happen if everybody got together and actually groomed these kids?
Regarding her own career, the 24-year-old has had a few regrets over the years, and if given a chance to go back in time, she would wish to change some of these.
I would definitely change my time in Rwanda when I was practicing in Rwanda, because when I got to the States, I felt so, not inadequate, but behind my team, because we didn't train like that in Rwanda. In Rwanda, you train 1 hour, you go home every day. I got to the States and we're training about 4 hours a day.
Having won her first tournament at the age of 10 in Tanzania, Liz is setting her sights on making a comeback on the local circuit and possibly pass on her skills to the budding talent in the country.
I did coach the national team before they left to Tanzania, the girls. And I would say, I see myself playing a couple of tournaments, but I would say my main goal would actually be to create an environment for girls to come and train and give them the opportunity, because it's a big opportunity in tennis.
With her short-term goals already clear, one would hope Rwanda can go on to produce talents such as Liz Currency. Arnold Quizera, Rise and Shine, Rwanda.
That's easily your best report, or up there with the best of them. You did great there.
Thank you, Regis.
All right, so
baby.
Liz Karenzi, I mean, she was a star since she was like 10 years old, basically, here locally. Then she went on the African circuit. I mean, what made her stop? Since she did play for the NCAA when she got to the States, why did she stop? What happened?
I think it's the tennis is one, when you are playing tennis at the college level in the United States, you're not drafted like basketball or football. You know, to go and play for a team professionally. So it's more of individual talent. So you have to choose to either continue with your studies or focus on your professional career. And, you know, coming from her background and her setup, it wouldn't be as luxurious for her to take on a professional career here on the African continent, you know, especially that she was struggling at that peak, because her talent, she had it, but because of her lack of proper nurturing at a young level, you know, she couldn't compete with the likes of Stephanie Sloan. Because when you look at the current crop of tennis stars, they emerge at the age of 17, 16, 15. That's when they're playing professionally. And for her, at that age of 18, 19, is when she was going to college. You know, so it's hard to balance the two. And that's
now,
why
I hear there's a comeback brewing. Is this just rumors I'm hearing, or is this coming to fruition anytime soon?
I think she's going to be at she's going to play the Castle Lager tennis tournaments series tournament that take place within East Africa. They are starting very soon. She's been training for the past month. She's back training. She started with a light jogging, you know, because she just came back home. She first meet the relatives, you know, the traditional setting. So I think she didn't have time to train, but now she's back training, intensive training. Everyday training, and that's now for the past month, and I think she's going to make her comeback on the local scene very soon.
Well, we cannot wait to see that. Now let's move on to Formula One. I mean, when you look at the scene, Lewis Hamilton wasn't too happy this weekend over what happened. Get into the details. Tell us what happened.
I think, as we had discussed previously on Thursday about the Monaco Grand Prix, it's a race that whoever leads at pole is almost certain to win the race, because there's hardly space for overtaking, and that happened to Lewis Hamilton after that pit stop with 8 laps to go. Hamilton was leading the race from pole. You know, he was about 21 seconds ahead of Nico Rosberg, who was in second, and Sebastian Vettel, as they all came out from pole, no overtaking there. But then the bad news for Hamilton was when the young driver Mitor Voretangan got knocked and the safety car came out, Mercedes made a mistake of calling him in to pit, which was a shocker. And when they called him in to pit, when he came out of the pit, he was 3 laps. He was he dropped by 2 places to third, and that was with 8 laps to go. Now he tried to get over Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, which is a slower car than the Mercedes, but he couldn't get over Sebastian Vettel, and the Mercedes head GM Toto Wolff came out, apologized to Hamilton and said such a mistake should never happen. Now this is a lifeline maybe to Nico Rosberg, 3 Monaco Grand Prix titles, first driver ever to win those in a row.
And he just won two titles back to back.
Yeah, and I think that's also, it goes down to the home deja vu kind of. Rwanda didn't face that over the weekend against Uganda, but, you know, this is a driver who grew up around this circuit, so he knows it so well in Nico Rosberg. So Nico Rosberg, 10 points now behind Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, trying to cut that gap in the world Formula One standings.
Now let's stay in France. Let's talk about Roland Garros, the French Open. And what do you see happening here? I mean, Roger Federer, Stanislas Wawrinka, we know there's other heavyweights out there. Who do you think is in pole position, since we're talking about Formula One? And can anyone challenge the clay court king?
That has been the question on everyone's lips when you look at this year's French Open, which I think is your best Grand Slam title.
It's my favorite by far, for many reasons. It's, you know, the food, the wine, all that, but keep going.
Yeah, I think, and so many players, it's their favorite Grand Slam of the year. But I think the reason why the French, this year's French Open is kind of more open than the years before is Rafael Nadal, who is easily the king of clay
all time.
9 French Open
Unbelievable.
titles. He may be going for title number 10. Rafael Nadal comes into this tournament very off form, but that has happened so many times. But his off form this year has been so uncertain. Now, when you look at the draws and the way he has been drawn, he comes in ranked number 6 for the French Open and number 7 in the world. Now, at number 6 in the French Open, he will have to meet Novak Djokovic.
If they do meet, of
yeah,
course.
if all go through, I
Right,
don't
right.
see Djokovic also losing.
Exactly.
He will have Djokovic in his way in the quarterfinals. That's if Nadal progresses. And after Djokovic, he will have Andy Murray in the semifinals. Now, Andy Murray is the favorite for this year's French Open,
Right.
surprisingly. And that's because Murray beat Nadal at the Madrid Masters and the
Right.
Italian Open over the past...
Roma, yes.
Yeah, over the past 2 weeks. Now, Murray comes in with a 10-0 record this year on clay. He has not lost to anyone. He had to pull out of the final of the Italian Open because of injury, after beating Nadal, obviously, earlier in the rounds. Now, Nadal is a player, again, you never rule out. Roger Federer may troll back the years. Again, we are skeptical. He's ranked number 2 in the world. Murray's form is up there. You know, he has a very good coach in Amelia Mauresmo, the former French Open champion herself.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then, the usual suspects, Stanislas Wawrinka, Nishikori, the Japanese, also not being talked about, but he will have something to say about this where this title goes.
Well, usually when you win Monte Carlo, when you get in the finals at Madrid and Roma, you're preparing yourself pretty well for
the
Roland
classics,
Garros. We'll wait and see. The Spanish, they have this tradition with Sergi Bruguera, Berasategui, all these guys that came before, Albert Costa. Let's wait and see.
And I'll still put my money on Rafael Nadal.
Same here. You don't bet against the king. Thank you, Arnold.
Thank you, Regis.
All right, you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Makira and I will be right back after the break.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's take a look now at news making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
The education sector is set to receive a grant worth 12 billion francs as part of donations to boost education in developing countries. The program, initiated by the Global Partnership for Education, is expected to support basic education components and the achievement of specific results chosen by the government and national partners in the areas of learning quality, education system efficiency, and equity for all children. Officials express optimism about the grant, saying it will further the improvement of the country's education sector. Other recipients of the grant include Bangladesh, Mozambique, and Nepal.
Construction of roads in Kigali City is expected to be completed next month to allow for easy movement of drivers and cyclists. Officials from the city said the total length of the roads under construction was more than 15 kilometers and are part of a wider project that will include the expansion of various roads and intersections to reduce traffic. The roads include Masaka Kabuga, Kiyovu to Gikondo, Utexira Gisozi, and Nyandungu Masoro Road, among others. The city of Kigali had also pledged to install security lights and pathways for cyclists.
In regional news, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development has called on Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir to facilitate the ongoing efforts in ending conflicts in South Sudan. This comes after last month's talks collapsed, leading to the regional body to involve the African Union, the EU, and the UN Security Council in the mediation process labeled IGAD+. Sudanese Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Kati said his country will apply the necessary efforts to prevent further deterioration of the security situation in the country, pointing it will help to stop flow of new refugees.
And Nigeria's severe fuel shortage has started to cause widespread disruption to everyday services, with the telecommunications and banking sectors being at the latest to be hit by the worsening crisis. Major banks have shortened opening times, flights have been cancelled, and phone companies are said the crisis may restrict services. Most businesses and homes in the country rely on diesel-powered generators because of the poor electricity infrastructure. The crisis started weeks before the March 29 elections, with oil suppliers hit by tightened lines and unpaid government debts, which they claim amount to nearly $1 billion. This is expected to be one of the most critical issues for incoming President Muhammadu Buhari to address after he's sworn in on Friday. Okay, lots more still to come. Lifestyle is up next. Plus, we take a look at what's hot right now in our daily debate section, Hot Topics. We'll be right back.
Here is to traveling and saving. Starting 1st of April to the 1st of June, travel with Rwanda and take advantage of our reduced fares and enjoy our world-class services in great comfort and safety.
Fly our dream to the heart of Africa.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda Lifestyle now. Makeda, what do you have for us?
I have a really cool young photographer that's doing some big things.
Okay, all right.
They say a photo is worth 1,000 words, and I met one talented Rwanda that proves that this theory is true. With his latest photo series, Walking Through Time, Jack Hinzingabo is a young photographer with aspirations of telling the Rwandan story through his powerful images. Take a look. Jack is a 21-year-old self-taught photographer with aspirations of representing Rwanda internationally for photography.
I started photography in 2009, but I became a professional photographer in 2013. Before, I do photography for fun. Then after, many people told me, hey Yakub, maybe you can change, this field is good. You can continue to do photography. It can help you to get everything you need. And then after I was like, okay, I can do it. Because before I didn't see many photographers from Rwanda, and I was like, okay, maybe I can be the first professional photographer who can represent my country outside here. Me, I believe in people. I just spend my time in the village, in the city, on the street, just talk to people, just tell other people's stories for other people, you know what I mean? Just to document people's life from outside of Kigali or Kigali where I live. Yeah.
His latest thought-provoking project, Walking Through Time, depicts the feet of Rwandans all throughout the country. This, he believes, tells a very important story.
Walking Through Time is a project I did in the way to show how the ancient Rwandans used feet before colonial, before they used feet to go to exchange, because in the culture of Rwanda, people they exchanged things like from Kigali up to southern province to go there to exchange bananas up to the other things. So how they live and now how they get sick, how their feet get sick because of those different activities. Yeah, that's what I want to show people. But by the time now, slow by slowly, we are growing up, you know, because now everyone can get shoes. That's all things I want to show people about. There is a photographer from Nigeria who make a big project from 80s till 2014 about dreads, about hairstyle, and I was like, okay, if he did this, maybe I can make the different project but similar. And my friend Chris is my best friend, just close friend, and he told me, hey Yakub, maybe you can try to base on the feet and shoes to show people those stories. Yeah.
Through this medium, Jack just wants these stories to be told.
Photograph first is art. What I want is just people get story, just story, to learn from past, just to get how to breathe future, you know, to show them how it was, because the other generation like me, the people who was born like after genocide, they need to know the stories before genocide. And what I do is just there is some photographers from outside. They came in Rwanda just to document or to show people just life of people, but based on the genocide. For me, it's a different. What I want is just to show the new images of Rwanda and how it was before, like before 80s, before 90s, how it was, just what I do.
Walking Through Time may be his latest, but it's not his only project. Apparently, this is only the beginning.
My dream, just let me call it dream. I want to make my only gallery of photography, just photography gallery in Rwanda, and to make a big festival of photography in Rwanda, just to invite other photographers from outside. And I'm planning to do it like next year, but Africa Photo Project, it will be a first photograph festival will be in Kigali. And another thing I want is just to present my country just outside, to go in the festival, biennale, just to show their culture of Rwanda, you know, how we live and what we did in the way to breed our country. Yeah, that's what I want.
Definitely one to watch. Makeda Mahario, Rise and Shine Rwanda. So now joining us in studio is Jack Hinzingabo, I hope I said that right, young photographer on the rise. Welcome to Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Yeah, thank you.
So we saw in the video that you really love shooting people. You like to depict people, you know, the history of Rwanda, culture of Rwanda. Tell me one thing, because you know, I see that, you know, you have a lot of really great pictures, but from what I know of Rwandese, they're so shy. So how do you get people to actually take all of these really cool photos?
What I know is just to express people, to teach them how they look in the camera. So I help them to see in my camera and to tell them, hey, you can do this, and please, many people of them, they are not girls, you know, because, you know, when you are looking with girls, if you are a boy and she's a girl, it's not easy. But for me, I try to make different angles in the way to get some pictures of them here.
Yeah, I see that there's a lot of men in the pictures and older ladies. I saw that.
Many pictures I took, it was from other different angles, as I said. I told them, hey, you have to look like this, and then go in the different angles in the way to take those pictures. Yeah.
And they're normally very okay with taking the photos, or do you get some people who say, hey, I don't want to be shown?
Sometimes I pay them in the way to take pictures, that's why.
Nice, you know, that always works. Money always works. Okay, so tell me, you know, you were telling me when we were talking that, you know, you wanted to kind of work with other photographers internationally and things like that. Do you have any Rwandan photographers that you work with now, or maybe East African photographers?
Yes, I have 3 or 4 photographers from Rwanda and 2 photographers from Uganda. Kibuka, as I said before, Kibuka is a good photographer. Even in June, he will go in Zurich to exhibit his artworks, but about breakdance. He's a photographer based on the culture of hip-hop. And there is other photographers from Rwanda, Silil and John Banda. They are good photographers. Even Silil has been in Switzerland to exhibit. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So when I was looking up information about you online, I saw so many different projects that you did. You know, I saw that you did one in a restaurant. You had done some on Rwandan dancing and different things like that. Do you have? And your latest, of course, is Walking Through Time.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite project that you ever worked on?
Yeah, of course, Walking Through Time.
Walking Through Time, of course. Good. You know, you're a good businessman. Okay, so how did you convince people to say, you know, let me take a picture of your feet? They didn't think it was strange at all?
Before I let them, I told them, hey, I have a project to show the Rwanda government how you live. And they were, hey, okay, they will help us to give us food, and then I was like, okay, maybe you can sit like this, and then the way to take pictures of the athlete. And when I have 2 cameras, it's easy to take pictures from different angles.
Right.
Yeah, because I can use my tripod in the way to show them I'm using my tripod, and then again just sit down to take pictures of their feet.
So do you keep in touch with any of the people that you photograph?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And show them maybe the outcome?
Yeah, sometimes I go there back to talk to them and then show them their pictures, and they also like, oh, we didn't know if you take some pictures like this, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so what plans do you have for the future? I know you want to do this this big photography festival and things like that, but do you have anything else in mind?
Yep. Before I was a DJ. So another project I have is like to be a best DJ in this country.
Oh,
and,
nice, Renaissance man.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to be a businessman. Yeah.
You told me before that you were talking to maybe some people who could help you to put on this festival. Tell us a little bit about that.
Goethe Institute is an institution which will help me. Even tomorrow I have a meeting with the director of Goethe Institute, and I want to make other partnership with institutions from Rwanda, and then there is other photographers, as I said before. They have many institutions in their countries, so we will make a partnership. We collaborate in the way to improve our talents, of course. Yeah.
So when can we look forward to this? Because it sounds really fun and cool.
Very quickly, of course. It's easy. It's easy sometimes when you have a good art, and it's not easy when you don't think more about what you do. But for us, it's easy. I mean, for me and for them.
Okay, so this photography festival, do you have any time frame when you think it's going to happen?
Yeah. So in August 1st, in August, I will exhibit a solo exhibition myself, and then after, I will get to experience how I can do it a big festival with other photographers. But for them, it's easy because they are already done some exhibitions, so they will help me in the way to improve that project. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely be looking out for you. Where can we look at your photos? Where can we find them? Tell the people.
Yeah, in August from 6.
I mean online.
Online, I have my website, jackinyinzigabo.com. Maybe you will spread it on the screen.
For sure, social media all the way.
And then
I'm planning to print out some pictures soon. We'll go to just present in different restaurants, different places where you can get it.
And you said August 6th for your exhibition?
My exhibition will be in August 6th.
Well, we'll definitely catch up with you then.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us. That was great. And you do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with Hot Topics. Welcome back. It is that Hot Topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine team have been out and about gathering everything you need to know about what's happening here and abroad, about what's trending on Twitter, to the debates in your local cafes and bars. We've got it for you right here and right now. And actually today we're switching it up a bit. Fidelis has the Hot Topics of the moment.
I do. I'm trying to get a hold of the situation.
You know what?
The yellow
I like
thing
that.
going on, all that.
I like it.
Anyway, so our first hot topic is about this intense heat that everyone's talking about that's there in India. So the measurements are up to like 48 degrees Celsius, and it's reported that over 500 people so far have already died, and they're still counting some more still dying from towns like Telangana and Pradesh, and these deaths started from the 23rd of May. So going into the dry season in Rwanda, what do you guys think of the situation? Are you prepared for the dry season? Do you think more should be done by the government to basically prepare people?
It doesn't kill anyone. I'm ready. This rain thing.
I mean, and you know, actually, I saw even in India they've been telling people to kind of be cautious and kind of be careful. But when I've witnessed heat waves in other countries, you know, I remember seeing on the news every morning they would say all of the things that you should do to kind of protect yourself.
Exactly.
And I think it's things that you should do anyway, even if there isn't a heat wave,
exactly.
right? So. Even people who are walking, they say, you know, if you're going to be walking on the road, walk where there's shade. You know, try and stay close to buildings or trees or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated. Make sure that you eat food, because if you go out on an empty stomach,
exactly,
and it's
because
hot,
even most of the people who've been dying, they say that people who go to work and they're basically not ready. They don't know this is going to happen. They get to work, it gets too hot, that they don't have enough water, so they end up dying because of the situation. Arnold, what do you think of this?
I think for Rwanda, it's not going to happen anytime soon, because here in Rwanda, unfortunately for the people affected in Pradesh and Telugu in India, it's you look at these as some of the poorest parts of India, meaning most of these people maybe are not able to afford these living conditions. Let's not forget India has the second poorest population in the world. So some parts of it, people can't afford these things. When you look at, for us here in Rwanda, I think we are ready for this kind of thing. Just about towards the end of last year, the Ministry of Agriculture set up granaries, and they said Rwanda's food security has gone up by 40% from the previous years, meaning in incidences where there's not enough food being produced, there's enough food in the granaries to support the country. So no, I don't think we're going to have hunger related.
Either way, it always gets good to be ready, right?
Yeah, so and I think because of our altitude, the heat is, I mean,
it won't be that bad.
It's hot here.
And really hot. I mean, the past few days, it's been really hot. I mean, I know, I hate the heat, so it's been driving me crazy. So this be ready, people. Just be ready.
What else do you have on the agenda?
The next topic is actually also a sad and shocking one. So it's been reported that over 600 Rwandan refugees are missing in Namibia from a camp known as Osire, that's 218 kilometers away from the capital of Namibia. And they say it's mostly Rwandans who had moved to Namibia between 1959 and, you know, the genocide period and all that, and basically have been living there in the camp for this whole time. But now more than 600 of them are missing, so they have no idea where they've gone. Exactly. So that's yeah. But you know, recently in just 2013, Rwanda officially announced that all of told these refugees to move back to Rwanda because it's safe, everything's good. Or if you want to stay there, you should get the legal documents to stay.
These are not refugees that left after '94. They've been there since for 60 years.
Exactly. Wow, and now they over 600 of them are missing.
And they're not even in window. They're like outside the capital.
Yeah.
I think it's to avoid such incidences. We saw recently the Ministry of Disaster Management getting into repatriation agreements with different nations. They got into one with Zambia, whereby those who want to come back to Rwanda are being given currently passports, Rwandan passports, and those who don't want to come back to Rwanda are going through the legal procedure of documentation. And I think this is happening with so many Southern African nations, Mozambique also trying to do the same thing. Maybe the incident with Namibia may come at a time when Namibia also wants to, is getting into talks with the government, and maybe some of these are, maybe moving downside to other Southern African nations, because at the moment they are more of what you would call aliens or illegal immigrants in those countries, and they're not registered as citizens of those countries. And then it also, maybe is there proper documentation by the Zambian authorities of citizens, of people who have lived in their country since 1969? That also has to be looked at. How do you notice that 600 people just can't disappear?
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
In one day, it means these people have been, moving away over a period of time.
Most importantly, the government of Rwanda has actually responded, and it's doing whatever it can to help find these people and ensure their safety. So, keep those people in your prayers. Now, this last hot topic is kind of funny. I thought it was hilarious. Actually, maybe this guy is serious, but here's the thing. So this Kenyan lawyer, known as Kipompro, says his dream is to marry Obama's daughter, Malia, and he's willing to pay, listen to this, 50 cows, so 30 goats as bride price for her.
You know what? I'm sure the Obamas would really need that livestock in their life.
And he says he doesn't want to marry her because of for the family money or anything. He just basically loves her. He realized this in 2008 and has not dated any other girl since
when she was a small girl.
Exactly.
Okay. What's his name? What's the guy's name?
Kiprono. He's actually a lawyer.
Kiprono, sir. Secret Service is gonna be taking you.
Yeah.
Damn.
But he says he's serious, and he's actually said he's going to draft a letter for Obama that can be given to Obama, and that he's going to basically ask Obama for when he comes to his visit in July to come with her, because he's hoping to meet her. And if he's in on the deal, then he can propose.
Good
and
luck,
he has all
Kiprono.
this
Dream
plan.
big.
It's like maybe you never know, You never know.
She may be
all
sort
of
of
you are
half
here.
fit by the sheep.
With the sheep and the cows.
The cows, and yes,
you can even add lines.
Hey, man. You know what? Hey,
at least he should send
more
me
power.
the invitation the day it happens. All of these, on the other hand, clearly do not think it's going to happen.
Go enjoy that wedding.
You never know. But I believe.
All right, well.
Don't forget, we'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on Facebook and send us your ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page, where you can catch all the shows and the reports we do. Follow us on Instagram, Rise and Shine RW. We'd love to see your pics. Or check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but like you said, don't forget, we love to hear your feedback, so let us know if you have any ideas for the show or any comments. You've been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Makeda Mahario.
And me, Regis Isheja, will be here, same time, same place tomorrow, so do join us then. But for now, from the two of us and this beautiful team over here, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.